Would two Hollywood A-listers really risk everything to keep this battle going? A battle that could cost them millions of dollars. Plus, wait to hear about the explosive allegations that Blake Lively added to her case against Justin Baldoni, and the name-calling between Baldoni and Ryan Reynolds. I'm attorney Andrea, and today we are diving into this real-life feud that's showing zero signs of slowing down. And we're gonna discuss the major legal updates in the case. Despite the title of their film, It Ends With Us, there is no end in sight for the legal battle between Hollywood stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni. Blake and Justin are locked in a legal battle so intense it makes Godzilla vs. Kong look like a friendly spar. We've got dueling lawsuits, accusations flying, phone records being subpoenaed, and a refusal to mediate. Let's be honest, if you think the drama between you and your ex was complicated, wait till you see this lawsuit. It's basically Amber Heard and Johnny Depp 2.0, but without any pirates. Lively and Baldoni co-starred in It Ends With Us, which ironically might describe their friendship in real life. Now each of them is brandishing lawsuits like they're Infinity Stones in a Marvel movie. We're talking about allegations of sexual harassment, retaliation, sabotage, and enough PR spin to fuel the next season of The Bachelor. How did we even get here? The rumors started swirling when Blake Lively, iconic actress and star of Age of Adeline and real-life comedic partner to husband Ryan Reynolds, filed a complaint alleging sexual harassment, retaliation, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and negligence against her co-star Justin Baldoni, best known for Jane the Virgin, and for making a strong case that men can also be the emotional pillars of a show. To catch up on the complaint that Blake filed that started all of this, make sure you check out my earlier video, which is linked at the end of this video. Now, after Blake filed her complaint, Baldoni fired back about a month later, accusing Lively of falsely smearing him to rehab her own reputation. Now, if you don't know anything about Lively, apparently she's known in Hollywood for being sort of a mean girl and hard to work with. So that's the reputation that Baldoni's legal team is referring to. Now, fast forward to today, Blake's sexual harassment lawsuit has been consolidated into a single court case, along with Baldoni's extortion countersuit and his defamation lawsuit against the New York Times. So this is typically done for judicial efficiency or to allow the claims to be addressed in a more streamlined way. In other words, sometimes it's easier just to litigate two closely related cases together rather than separately. Interestingly, they were given the option to possibly close the case early through mediation, but both Blake and Justin have refused to mediate. Typically in legal disputes, the parties are encouraged to consider mediation. And mediation is a voluntary and confidential process where a neutral third-party mediator helps them negotiate a mutually agreeable resolution. Mediation can be faster, less expensive, and more flexible than litigation. It also allows both sides to retain control over the outcome, rather than leaving it up to a judge or a jury. And in California, mediation is often encouraged or even required in certain types of civil cases before the parties are even allowed to proceed to trial. So opting out of mediation means forfeiting the opportunity for a potentially amicable resolution, increasing legal costs, and prolonging the dispute, and even risking an unpredictable court ruling. By declining mediation, Lively and Baldoni effectively chose to let the courts decide, forgoing the chance to resolve matters on their own terms. You know how couples therapists always say communication is key? Well, apparently Lively and Baldoni never got the memo. Or they did and they set it on fire, because they submitted a joint letter to the judge in their case stating that settlement discussions would be, quote, premature. That's legalese for we can't even stand being in the same Zoom call. In their letter, they said that mediation and typical discovery protocols just aren't right for their case. Let's decode that. So discovery protocols are basically the set of rules that say you have to hand over relevant documents. That could be emails, text messages, Snapchats, TikToks, and iCloud backups, the ones you forgot existed. And the fact that they are rejecting any streamlined approach is like a big neon sign that says, get ready for a long fight. Now, let's not forget that Lively's husband, Ryan Reynolds, is also roped into this. Now, Ryan Reynolds is basically the guy who turned Deadpool into a franchise for grown-up superhero fans, myself included. Reynolds is also a plaintiff in the case against Baldoni. However, he's asked the court to dismiss him as a defendant from the suit that Baldoni brought against the couple. In response, Baldoni referred to Reynolds as a co-conspirator with Lively, and he asked the judge to deny Reynolds' request. It's pretty strategic wording from Baldoni and his team, since co-conspirator is referred to mainly in the criminal law context. Messy. And even juicier, Blake Lively alleges that Baldoni's behavior on the set of It Ends With Us made 2 other actresses uncomfortable. While the specific details of their experiences are not yet publicly disclosed, Lively asserts that these individuals are prepared to testify regarding their interactions with Baldoni. Lively's legal team contends that this additional testimony strengthens her claims against Baldoni, suggesting a pattern of inappropriate conduct. Baldoni's attorney, Brian Friedman, has dismissed the amended lawsuit as, quote, underwhelming, maintaining Baldoni's stance of innocence. Friedman himself is an entertainment lawyer top dog. He's been described by The Hollywood Reporter as the attack dog for powerful clients that he portrays as underdogs. Now, although the identities of the 2 women haven't yet been revealed, it's not hard to guess who they might be if you've actually seen the movie, since the cast was pretty small. So at this point, everything is speculation, but process of elimination would likely get you there. The judge in the case, Louis Lyman, granted Lively's request for a high-level protective order in the case. The protective order essentially sets confidentiality rules for handling sensitive information, including text messages exchanged between Blake and Justin, marking them attorney's eyes only, so they don't get out into the public. And typically litigation is so public in the first place that the people involved in lawsuits want to keep as much private as possible, which makes sense. I don't know which one of us would want our text messages and private convos just out there in the ether. But the judge didn't just give Lively everything she wanted. The ruling specifically states that the documents can only be marked attorney's eyes only if its disclosure is highly likely to cause a significant business, commercial, financial, or privacy injury. It still begs the question, is she really trying to hide something specific? Or are there really pieces of information in her text messages that could potentially serve as a risk to her career and reputation if they were to be released? The court usually balances the privacy interests with the need for disclosure when making such determinations. So here, the court determined that the privacy interests outweighed the need for disclosure to the public for at least some of the documents at issue in this case. The Lively Reynolds legal squad has also subpoenaed phone records from Baldoni and basically everyone who had something to do with It Ends With Us. So what are they likely looking for? Evidence of a plot to ruin Lively's reputation, proof that Baldoni or his associates engaged in a smear campaign, any receipts that might show wrongdoings like text messages or voice notes that say, let's destroy so-and-so's career. Baldoni's lawyer, however, calls this a fishing expedition, which is basically the polite version of they have no actual proof, so they're casting a wide net. To successfully argue their motion to dismiss Baldoni's claims, Lively's legal team needs to demonstrate that Baldoni's lawsuit lacks legal merit. That is, that it's based on speculation rather than actual harm. By subpoenaing phone records and communications, they are likely trying to uncover evidence that Baldoni's claims are unfounded or even retaliatory. And if they can show that there was no coordinated effort to damage Baldoni's reputation, or that his lawsuit is built on shaky ground rather than provable damages, then they can argue that the case should be dismissed before it ever reaches a jury. Essentially, if there's no concrete evidence that Lively conspired to harm Baldoni, then his claims could be deemed legally insufficient, cutting the lawsuit off at the knees before it gains momentum. A Hollywood feud wouldn't be complete without the peanut gallery, the internet, chiming in, especially the comment sections. Team Baldoni folks say, no way Blake's telling the truth, she's a budding Amber Heard. While Team Lively folks say he's the puppet master of a smear campaign. Cue the digitally feud fiasco reminiscent of the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial, where TikTok became a 24/7 highlight reel of court testimonies. This is the new normal in the meme era. And of course, we're seeing commentary from the masses too. This is giving me Amber Heard flashbacks, with people essentially screaming from their computer screens. Where's the actual evidence? Now here's the actual legal nitty-gritty and the expected rough timeline for all of these crazy events. So first, Blake Lively's legal team is expected to file a motion to dismiss Baldoni's $400 million lawsuit, essentially asking the judge to throw out the case. If the judge denies the motion to dismiss, discovery begins, meaning both sides will dig through text messages, emails, phone logs, and possibly even group chats involving cast members and crew members. Both parties will fight over what evidence can be used in court, with Baldoni's side calling Lively's subpoenas a quote, fishing expedition. We know there will be no mediation because the parties have refused to engage in mediation, at least at this point, meaning they're headed straight to trial unless something drastically changes. If the case proceeds, expect depositions, cross-examinations, and potential witness testimony from those involved, and it ends with us. Now, big question. Will either star come out unscathed? In the age of social media, public opinion forms faster than Drake sells out an arena. If Lively ends up looking like the aggressor, she could be facing career damage. And if Baldoni's allegations don't hold up, he could be the next guy that Hollywood quietly blacklists. Could this get worse? Oh, absolutely. Consider leaked text messages or videos. If any behind the scene footage or private chat logs surface showing behind the scenes power plays, it could lead to a meltdown bigger than the Titanic. We've already got producers like Jeremy Heath dragged into this, and next we might see crew members from the set testifying about who said what. And if you think a jilted assistant director doesn't have a story or two, think again. This could also spiral into a slew of more lawsuits. If either side claims defamation, or if a new party sues for emotional distress from reading about all the drama. In Hollywood, never underestimate people's willingness to litigate. This could also lead to public brawls. Typically, it's not great PR to air dirty laundry, but sometimes folks do it anyway, especially if they're fighting for public sympathy or contract leverage. I'm curious, how do you think that this will all play out? Do we find Justin is in fact the culprit, taking advantage of women under the guise of work? Or will the courts find Blake Lively is playing the role of the Hollywood celeb bullying to get her way at the expense of her co-stars? Let's talk about it. Please leave your comments below. Until next time, thank you so much for watching. I'm Attorney Andrea.